Hey everybody, this is Dan Stolbarger. Welcome to this week's Middle East Update. It's June 4th. We're going to look back upon the events that have transpired this week. And just a reminder, and I think we all need to be reminded of this, God Almighty is in control. Don't forget that. He's on the throne. He knows exactly what's taken place. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the murky waters and the foggy bottoms that we have here for this week and see if we can make any sense out of it. Let me start with talking a little bit about ceasefires. Here's some statistics for you. With all this talk of ceasefires or whatever, since April 16th, Hezbollah has fired over 1,000 rockets and over 400 explosive drones, not at the IDF, but the target has been Israeli civilians. So let that settle in when we talk about ceasefires and treaties and things such as that. So we always start with our news bites, but just as a reminder, this behind me is the PDF PowerPoint, and it is available on the YouTube channel for this week. So, foolish thinking. We'll start with that. Pete Hegseth, his comment, I just have to scratch my head. Iran may not want to give up its nuclear ambitions now, but we believe that over time, at the negotiating table, Iran will indeed give up. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, put the house on the market, put the house up, okay? Iran will never give up on their nuclear ambitions. Never. Never. All right, Iran's president is reportedly offering his resignation after admitting that the IRGC has effectively taken over the country. You can believe it, or like me, you can look at this as simply another delay policy, delays tactic, delays strategy, okay? Let's just push this off as long as we can. One of the things that we have to realize is that, and I believe this, Trump has no idea who he's negotiating with. I think there's a different person on the phone, at the table, or whatever the case may be. So this is, to me, just another delay tactic. Okay, continuing on. Trump has made it clear that the U.S. probably, quote, air quotes, won't attack Iran unless Tehran kills an American soldier or troops or whatever. Then we would consider attacking. But this seems to be still a couple steps back. And then, of course, we have to deal with Lebanon and Hezbollah. Israel and Lebanon, and with the U.S. supporting it, have agreed on a plan to drive Hezbollah north of the Litani River. Again, from the Israeli ambassador, his words, he says, "We have brought the people of Lebanon to the understanding that we, that being Israel, we're not the enemy. Hezbollah is the enemy." And so, once again, ceasefire. I love this quote. Trump's going to make it clear that a ceasefire in the Middle East just means that there's a little bit more moderation in shooting. Okay, and then last up, Danny Danon, the UN ambassador from Israel. I don't know if this is true or not, but anyhow, he said Tucker Carlson called him and asked that his name be removed from an alleged list of anti-Semites, to which Danny replied that there wasn't one, but maybe Israel should make one. Okay, let's take a look at our regular articles this week, and I call this the Islamic Mindset. So you have to understand, you have to get this, okay? It's just like what I said about a ceasefire. How do you define ceasefires in the Middle East? Trump says that a ceasefire is when you're shooting in more of a moderate manner, okay? So this is the Islamic mindset. Across the Middle East, there are terrorist organizations constantly searching for signs of weakness among their enemies. Jihadists interpret restraint quite differently from the West, our policymakers. What many Western leaders describe as diplomacy, patience, or de-escalation, that is frequently seen by Islamics as fear, exhaustion, or surrender. And so when you think ceasefire, the Western mindset is not what's taking place in Israel. And then an article that's what is needed. Here's the deal. And this is again from an Israeli perception. Here's the bad deal Trump must refuse. A freeze instead of dismantlement, sanction relief if it only comes with promises, frozen funds released for the goodwill, no. The nuclear program left dormant rather than eliminated. Those terms, Trump cannot accept those terms, okay? The bottom line, the only question is going to be, with the power that we have in the Middle East at this particular time, will the president, who's built this position of strength, will the president have the will to absolutely use it and dismantle once and for all the Islamic regime? That's the question that Israel is posing. And at least this writer suggested or made the comment, it is a good bet that he will. And truthfully, I'm just not sure. Okay, then we have this whole incident with the bromance between Trump and Bibi, and it sort of exploded this week where Trump seemed to be cussing Bibi out or whatever. So it is a strange moment in time when the leader of the free world explains to a reporter why he had to curse out the prime minister of a major ally. The tense nature of the Trump-Netanyahu bromance, what took place this week underscores the increasingly divergent tactics that the two are trying to employ in the Middle East. The bottom line is Trump is leaning hard, there's no doubt about it, into diplomacy efforts. While Bibi, on the other hand, is pushing for what? Intensified military action. And so this is the clash that's going on at this particular time. And how it impacts the future of U.S. aid to Israel is really up in the air. Trump is hinting that he will visit Israel. And so, again, back to this relationship between Trump and Bibi. Elections are coming up. If you follow Israeli elections, right now, who knows? Too close to call, right? So Trump is considering visiting Israel just about the time that the elections are heating up, okay? So political officials believe that this timing could have an impact on the election campaign. Mike Huckabee says, I hope he comes at this time. I think we know that Mike is a Bibi backer. But he makes the comment, he says, okay, keep this in mind. If Trump were running in Israel, he would receive 95% of the support. There's never been an American president who was so close to Israel. And so the US, so he is considering making this trip to Israel to receive this award, this Israeli award for Trump. And it would be in September, with elections being late September, early October. So will that move the needle in favor of Bibi? I think a lot of this will be determined on what happens over the next 3 or 4 weeks. All right, Trump, Iran, and Lebanon. Okay, today's Thursday, it's June 4th. This article says Iran wasn't prepared for what is called the Trump speed diplomacy. So on Monday, Israel was gearing up to strike Beirut, as you know, and Iran thought it had found the perfect loophole. It attempted to stall its own talks by suddenly demanding a peace deal in Lebanon first. It was a genius maneuver on paper. If it failed, Israel would look like the warmonger, in a sense. And that's what Iran obviously wants. And if it succeeded, then Iran's most vital proxy, Hezbollah, would be preserved. Either way, navigating the fallout would buy precious time, the delay tactic. But before Iran could even play that card to the fullest, the ground shifted. This is that Trump speed diplomacy. A partial ceasefire was already locked in by Monday night. By Tuesday, Israeli and Lebanese delegations were already sitting down together in Washington. And by Wednesday, they had already hammered out these new pilot zones where the Lebanese military would assume control and strictly ban Hezbollah. So just like that, Iran's roadblock has been kind of evaporated, and Trump is essentially dusting his hands, sitting back down at the negotiating table, looking straight into the Iranians' eyes and simply asking, so are we doing this? Is there a deal or is there not a deal? And so again, we're hearing maybe this weekend, maybe not. To me, the noise sounds just the same as it's been over the past couple weeks. And then I have this last slide here for you that I think is interesting. It's Iran today, okay? And for some reason, it's not coming up on my screen right now. So let me see if I can find a way to do that. If not, you get that PowerPoint, you'll see it. But Iran's been hit with a major locust plague, okay? There's a guy standing in the midst of it all. So again, as we started, I'm convinced that God is in complete control. So with that, that's our report for this week. God bless you and shalom. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And then a special prayer request. My wife and I will be heading to Israel next Sunday, and we'd appreciate your prayers. We'll be there for a couple of weeks. So God bless you and shalom.